This is the daily writing exercise recorded day 37, titled Marchan, Marchan. Magic? What do you mean magic? There is no magic here. Marchan was outraged. How dare you come into my home and accuse me of using magic? Jen bit her lower lip and rolled her eyes. Ugh, she sighed. We literally saw you do it through the window. What? Marchan cried out. What do you mean through my windows? Finn pointed to the large living room window up front. That window? He said slowly. What window? Marchan asked, turning his head towards the window. Jen and Finn looked at it again and saw that it was gone now. A solid white painted wall stood in its place. Jen sighed again. So, how do you explain that then, sir? Marchan shrugged. I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't see no window. Finn had had enough. All right, sir, he said. You know the deal. No magic past midnight. It's the law. I don't make it, but I have to enforce it. What law? Marchan asked. What law says that I can't do magic past midnight? The law, Jen answered. The same law that has brought us here these past 4 days, asking you to please stop doing magic past midnight. People are trying to sleep, okay? No one wants to hear magic being done at night. They're all trying to sleep. So please, stop doing it. We have received numerous complaints from your neighbors, telling us that you keep doing magic past midnight and keeping them up all night, even though they have to go to work the next morning. You understand that, don't you? They are just trying to catch a good night's sleep. That is all. So please, do us all a favor and stop doing magic after midnight. Because if you do not do as we tell you to do, we will have no choice but to call in the retrievers. And you don't want us to do that now, do you? I don't know what you're talking about, Marchan said stubbornly. He turned away from Jen and Finn and made the living room window reappear again, so he could stare out of it. Finn began to rub his tired face. You don't want to spend the week in prison, do you? Marchan waved the notion off by throwing his hands in the air. Jen and Finn saw that there was no helping the man. So, Jen said to Finn in a low voice, what do we do now? Finn shrugged. I don't know. We just do what we are supposed to do. If he doesn't want to listen, then he doesn't want to listen. It's not our problem then, is it? Yeah, but do you really want to call the retrievers? Jen asked. You know how shit they are. Like, if we call them, we are definitely going to be stuck with who knows how many forms and how many questions. You know, questions like, were you absolutely certain that the situation could not have been resolved in a more appropriate way? And have you done everything to resolve the situation in the appropriate manner? And then that 1,000 times. Like, I don't want to be stuck doing paperwork 6 months from now, just because this guy didn't want to stop using magic. I've been there before, and I don't want to do that again. What do you want to do then? Finn replied. We can't just leave him here again, can we? Why not? Jen said. We just write the report and leave. I mean, everybody does it. I mean, I guess, Finn said. Well, Jen said, getting ready to leave. You can do whatever you want, but I don't want to lose my job when some random committee decides that we did not act properly, or that we did not follow the book to the letter. So fuck this and let's go, okay? Jen did not wait for a response and headed for the front door. Good night, Mr. Marchan, she said. And please do us all a favor and stop using magic past midnight. Finn reluctantly followed and slogged his way towards the front door. Mr. Marchan turned around and watched the two go. His eyes were wild and his face twitched, as the panic began to pulsate upon it. Wait, he shouted with a broken voice. His hands made a gesture and the front door disappeared. Jen touched the wall where the door used to be and turned around to face Mr. Marchan. Sir, she said, please return the door so we can leave. Finn put his hands into his pockets and observed from a distance. Marchan stammered. He grew angrier by the minute and could not find the right words to say. Jen and Finn did not move an inch and made no attempt to intervene. This only angered Marchan even further, who clearly wanted them to act out towards him, but it seemed he would have to make the first move. And so, he did. He approached Jen and reached out for her arm. This was enough of a threat that both Jen and Finn sprung into action. They unlocked their magical limiters and used it to restrain Marchan. But Marchan fought back and pushed himself into the living room. There he waited a few seconds, hesitant to use more powerful and stronger magic. The dilemma was over quickly as his instincts took over and Marchan began to unleash a full wave of magic towards the two standing by the door. It was some powerful stuff, but Jen and Finn were trained to deal with it. Not to stop it per se, but to redirect it away from them and make sure that they were not hurt by it in the process. Their ability to redirect his attacks only angered Marchan even more. He increased the power behind his waves of magic and began to move about the room to add in a bit of change of direction. Jen and Finn managed it skillfully and continued to calmly redirect all of his attacks. It worked fine until Marchan grew tired of it and burst out an explosion of magic in anger. The explosion destroyed everything around him and began to bring down the building around them. It was a magic explosion far more explosive than Finn and Jen had ever seen in their entire careers. All three managed to escape the collapsing building, although not entirely unscathed. Out on the street, Marchan was not done with them, as he readied himself for another attack. Finn kept him busy whilst Jen directed her attention to the collapsing building and the people that were wakened from their sleeps. The fight continued as more and more people flooded into the streets, wondering what the hell was going on. What made it all so much worse for Finn and Jen was that the people were slowly starting to cheer Marchan on. This despite some of their neighbors having actually died in the collapsing building. Jen did not understand it. She looked at the people's faces and did not understand the flares of joy she saw within it. She did not understand what it meant and feared what it was going to become. She and Finn could handle one magical person, but not a dozen, if not 100. There was nothing to win, but everything to lose, and Jen feared Finn had not yet understood that. Finn continued his battle with Marchan as more and more people started to surround him. Finn needed all his concentration to fight the man. A slip up and he would be gone. That reality became clearer and clearer the longer the fight lasted, and the more he needed to redirect even more powerful attacks. Whereas first they were meant to push Finn away, Finn quickly realized that the power and intensity behind them only increased, and that soon they were meant to hurt him so much that he would surely die if one hit him directly. Jen called out to him. "Finn," she yelled. "Finn!" "Not now," Finn yelled back. "Finn!" Jen yelled again. "We need to go now." "What?" Finn yelled back. "Don't you see I'm busy?" "Leave him," Jen yelled. "We can't win this. We need to go. Now." Jen looked at the faces around her. The joy in them had slowly turned grim, and she could feel that they were turning against them. Though for the life of her she could not understand why. "Finn," she yelled again, when he did not listen. "We need to go. Now." When he would not listen, she ran up to him and took over in defending against Marchan. "Look around you," she said while she took over. Finn's concentration was broken. He almost lashed out to Jen until he did as she had told him to do. He looked around and only then noticed just how many people were watching them. He noticed the look in their eyes and the hesitation their bodies portrayed. And Finn could tell that if they were not careful, the people would surely join in against them. "Oh, all right," Finn yelled to Jen. "All right. We should go." "Are you ready?" Jen asked. "Ready," Finn replied. Together they jumped backwards and held off one of Marchan's attacks. Right after that they charged their magical powers and swiftly redirected them to the ground. The force created shot them up into the air and away from Marchan and the people surrounding him. It was not the most elegant way of escape, but it was the only way that they were going to survive. And up there from the sky, they could see what was happening down below. And what they saw was carnage. The moment they had left, the people that had watched had turned violent and onto each other. They could see many of them die in the first wave, and they could see the violence spreading throughout the streets. And soon, as they would come to learn back at the police station, the violence had spread throughout most of the city. The more's been written or recorded. Thank you for listening.